essentially, we're being recorded. Thank you so much, Zoom. I will say it every time. I don't care. But really, like, the lesson and the message you're being served here is, like, just going back to my last thought of, like, look at how quickly things trailed off of, like, negative experience, being that, feeling that energy, physically shit going wrong, losing the wallet, physically shit going wrong, losing the glasses, emotionally feeling drained, mentally feeling like all of the things. Yeah. And it's like everybody right now. It absolutely is. And it's turned the fuck up because what we have, like, today, the moon actually is in Gemini, but it isn't until like 3 a.m. or sometime, I don't even know, Eastern, Pacific, I don't know, but like tonight that it changes over to the actual peak of the new moon. So new moon in Gemini being tomorrow, Thursday, June 10th. Like, how the fuck is it June 10th already, right? So that's another aspect of life. But new moon in Gemini, Mercury retrograde is in the sign of Gemini right now. So that's, Mercury is ruled by Gemini. So that's like Gemini, that's like a huge energy. I talk about that because that's, Gemini is an air energy, and air energy equals our mental space. And so we are like, there's even more heightened chatter right now, like mental chatter. There is a lot of like the things going wrong externally, like we were talking about in the human experience. Like there is a lot of conversation going on in the brain of like, and I keep breaking it down like this when I am being given the opportunity to break it down like this as it's coming through and I'm sharing. It's like the left side of the brain, and we've talked about this in the past couple of times here, but the left side of the brain being masculine, the right side of the brain being feminine, the left side of the brain being about ego, past experiences, the right side of the brain being about intuition, being in the present moment. Right now, with all of the Gemini air equal mental energy, we're tuned the fuck up to receiving so much, like mentally, so many conversations going on in the sense of like, so I'm just using your excuse me, example, Carly, with just your brother's negativity, because that was the first aspect of the chain of events, right? Because this is so real for all of us, just like in a really different experience. But just that energy of that's going on and that's happening, and like, you yourself, Carly, are your own human. You already have all of your fucking shit going on. You already have all of your thoughts. You already have all of that. So, number one, this is a big message I think that is coming through collectively, knowing that just right now, being you, a conscious human, choosing soul growth always, because that's who anybody that's tapping into this live is, that's what you're here for. That is a fucking job, and it is exhausting right now. So just honoring you and like just you, honoring you, celebrating you, appreciating you. That's the first little half of that message. But the second half is that other people are fucking draining right now. Like other humans and just being around other people, it's super draining. And there's a lot of different reasons about for that. Cosmically, that mental energy, that air energy, everyone's tuned into that, no matter if they're like, oh, the new moon in Gemini is tomorrow, like it's still affecting them no matter if they like believe it or not. It just is. It, as above, so below. So everyone is ungrounded as fuck right now. What happens when everyone is ungrounded as fuck? Oh, lots of stuff. We project our insecurities on each other. We react communication wise versus respond. There's a lot, like, oh my God, I hate and love coming to these because it makes me take a minute to reflect on my own experience. Like, how many times during this whole, like, tuned into all of the Bridget Rose products and this and that, and I'm working and I'm doing this, lots of masculine energy. And my man comes in and says something, and I think he's like fucking um like digging at me, or I think he's like something like that, right? I think he's like saying something to like upset me or like set me off, when really he's just like saying something and like communicating. But like, because I'm so in it and like in my action and this and that, like I'm more I'm more likely to just like react and like jump on him. So it takes me a moment to be like, okay, like I need to take a breath. I need to realize. And honestly, I haven't been able to even get to that point. It's more like not beating myself up for reacting that way in the moment, like having this awareness of like, yo, okay, I'm like moving through a fucking lot. I need to like find compassion for myself so I don't like get further into like fuck you to like protect myself, because that is super real, to just keep putting up this shell of projection, right? And just like, no, blaming you, this is your fault, this is your problem, right? Like all of that versus us first, which comes back to that first message of appreciate us and us first. And it's time to like, when it comes to mentally, physically, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, like those 5 areas of life, like how are you feeling? And then going to attend to whatever else in your life. So I'm just going to pause there for a second, because that was a big message in my live earlier. And you can kind of work this process this next week, which is why we tap in weekly here. And something we'll be doing in Reset and Renew. Carly, you're in there. And so this is like even bringing it further into your awareness of like every day checking in with your energy, even writing it down. That's actually one of the cards that I had pulled for tonight, this journal card. Writing down how you're feeling, checking in with yourself. And again, in those 5 areas, mentally, physically, emotionally, energetic, spiritually, because a lot of them can seem the same, but in reality, like they do all overlap. Like, let's not get that shit wrong. They do all connect with each other, and they are all different beings and different aspects of ourself. So that journaling really supports us in like grounding the mental communication, like all of the things going on and that we're receiving. When we can brain dump, when we can just like write it out and just like not care about what it looks like and all of the things, like we do receive a lot of clarity, because that is a form of expression. So journaling definitely is excuse me, will be really supportive right now. Okay, I don't want to lose my last thought, but I'm learning how to slow down, because like when I talk, I take us all up here, and I really want to take like us all like up here, but also like down into here at the same time. So I'm learning to slow down. I kind of pause myself. I'm like a little uncomfortable, but we're just gonna roll with it. I know I'm not going to miss my next thought. And so before I go any further, I'd like to maybe just take a couple breaths, because we did just receive a lot. Just wherever you are, if it's available to you, maybe close your eyes. And again, I'm going to say out loud that we left off on journaling, because I definitely have another message coming through there. But again, if it's available to you, maybe closing your eyes. And just even noticing right now for you, what is going on mentally? I have like a list of like, I gotta go to Staples after this, and printing and this and that, all this shit, right? But like, let's just take a moment to honor all those things. Remember that snow globe, that sphere type of experience. I know we've been through together. Christine, I'm not sure if you have yet, but even imagining this kind of like crystal ball forming around you, removing yourself from all of those thoughts, feeling your internal energy draw inwards. Yeah, just feeling yourself remove from those experiences. They're on the outside of your crystal ball. They'll be there. Trust me, they will be there. But right here and right now, this is where we are. We are safe right here and right now. And just even noticing your breath before we start to breathe together. Are you breathing? I know for me, I haven't been able to breathe past my chest a lot. I haven't been conscious about my breath. But breath is the pathway between our mind and our body. Breath. Yes, I see Bosia and Christina yawning. Just like let it out. No, I love that. That's absolute release. Like anything your body has to release here in any way, shape, or form that it wants to. And that breath, just that pathway again between your mind and your body, supporting you and becoming more present, supporting that chatter and kind of like, what I see is like that chatter mentally just like dissipates, but what needs to be there is more like it's like a pole like coming through your body, like a stream of light just like coming through your body, a pillar. I did not want to say pole, it's a pillar of light. So again, as you breathe, the mental energy that is draining you releases. However, the mental energy supporting you, that pillar of light, highest self energy, it roots down the center of your body. And then feeling that exhale, that energy just ground further and further. And let's just take a couple breaths together. We'll do an inhale through our nose. And an exhale through our mouth. Beautiful. And maybe as you breathe, your head comes side to side, you stretch it out and just feeling our body needs to move a little. Inhaling through our nose. And exhaling through our mouth. And let it go. Verbally release. Feel that release out of the back of your throat. Knowing how safe and supported you are right here, right now. We're going to do 2 more breath cycles together. We're going to do an inhale through our nose. And then exhale out of our mouth. Just grounding further and further. And on this last breath, before we come all the way back, just know that this is always available to you, even if it's a pocket of 30 seconds in your day, even if it's like, it does not have to be even like 5 minutes like we just went through, but just this presence, this awareness, this dropping into the body, this moving energy between your breath, between stretching, between releasing whatever comes through. This is so available to you. So with that being said, let's lastly take that breath through our nose. Inhale. And then exhale through your mouth. Yeah. And just slowing it down, which is so challenging. That is not easy to do. It is not the normal of how humans operate, of how society operates. The normal of society is keep going, keep doing, keep up with the chaos externally and try to figure it out. But we're not here to figure it out. We're here to feel things out. We're here to trust. We're here to be the observer of these lessons and understand they really are opportunities to up level. That's not taking away from the human experience at all, like at all. The human experience is fucking tough, but right now, excuse me, like fully what we're going through is like massive soul expansion. This, excuse me, the new moon in Gemini tomorrow is with also this solar eclipse aspect is just rounding off what the full moon in Sagittarius brought us, which is also an eclipse, which is only like not even a month ago. It was like halfway between a month ago, whatever those days are. But like that full moon eclipse in Sagittarius being all about expansion, what we're moving through right now, like big fucking expansion. Sagittarius being all about leadership. That full moon eclipse fucking teleported us into highest self leadership. Like, you don't need to have a business or anything to be like highest self leader. Like, I'm talking about highest self leader in all aspects of your life, like how you show up to your life in all aspects. So that shit that we're this turned on, like tuned up energy of the lessons we're moving through started Sagittarius full moon. But fucking really, it started the new moon in Taurus, which was exactly a month ago. The new moon in Taurus is what like put us through this portal of self-worth and self-acceptance and unapologetically like empowering the fuck out of ourselves to go after our dreams, to go after the abundance, to go after the reality that we desire. Like, look back to you, whatever you were moving through, like that was the overall theme. And so right now, Taurus and Gemini being right one after another, we're really like feeling the fucking polar opposites of the seeds we planted on the new moon in Taurus as a test from universe to be like, are you sure? Because you're almost there, but are you sure? Are you really sure? Like, we're almost there. One of the cards that I have tonight too is Ace of Pentacles. This is all about receiving real life abundance. Pentacles is about earth. Ace is ace, abundance, right? But that earth energy, like physical abundance, it's here. But like, are you willing to surrender? This was one card that I was pulling when Carly, you were talking. But of course it comes through like for everybody too, because we're so connected like that at the end of the day. We really are. Right now we're in this space of surrender. I can release my need to control. And what did the Sagittarius full moon teach us was to release control. Release control. Like, that is so hard because the human needs to see with these two eyes. But we fucking see with three eyes. We can bring this one, we can turn this one on. But when all of the external things are going so quickly and are like happening so fast, like we humanly, like we see those things and we're like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And going all the way back, looping back to that chain of events that Carly experienced in her own life, from negative energy to losing wallet to losing glasses, like whatever that was, that shit happens when we are just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, because we're focused on that and we're attracting that even if we aren't trying to. And that like goes back to one of the other big messages too for right now is protect your energy, cut cords with people, like cut cords with people that do not serve you. That doesn't mean you need to cut them out of your life and be like, goodbye, I abandon you. I'm going to isolate myself, because that creates loops for us. If we just choose to up and leave and be like, I'm not going to communicate with you, I'm not dealing with you, goodbye. That absolutely can create loops for us if we aren't ready to relieve that relationship and we are just like avoiding versus actually communicating. And so one of the tools that I shared earlier today was cutting cords. And this came through really differently today than it ever has before, because cutting cords, we're used to like, oh, past life cords and like karmic cords and like big, like all that, right? At least that's how I've always felt. But like going back into those 5 different areas: mental, physical, emotional, energetic, spiritual. And when I talk about energy, that's your aura. So that's connecting to other people. So in each of those areas, where do you need to cut cords? Mentally, what do we need to cut cords with? The example that came through earlier was like when the left side, right, wants to come up and be like super fucking like overcritical because that's like past how you dealt with it. We're going to cut cords with that and like feel that energy more coming into balance of like, well, what would you do now? Like bring that right side in. Well, what do you want to choose now, right? Like we can cut those cords and at the same time choose new things. Like I'm literally seeing the energy. It's crazy. Like it's so fucking potent how it really can happen like this. And kind of saying that we also do need these spaces, I feel like, of support to just validate what we go through. And like we need to hear these things, right? Because or else we're like, wait, what? I would go in a loophole if I didn't have some other outside supports to understand like what the fuck. So that's definitely to say like spaces of support are so crucial. So okay, there was 2 messages there. So to kind of really ground that in, it's those spaces of support. Don't hesitate to reach out for help. Don't hesitate to text someone that you're like, but I'm actually just bothering them. Like, you're not a fucking burden. It's time to drop that. Because honestly, that's kind of like a loop of victimhood at the end of the day.
I'm thinking about that right now. I literally just had that thought about you are scary. I that
I I'm not scary. It's just your heart's open and my heart's open, and we're like literally tapped into the same consciousness. That's all that's happening.
I love it.
Yes. Because I don't even remember what I was saying. But no, like at the end of the day, right? Like cutting cords with like, I really don't remember. Do you want to remind me, Carly?
You were saying like if you want to like text someone and you're feeling like you don't want to because you're gonna bother them, like you're not a burden.
Yeah. That burden dialogue really is like, again, it's honoring how you feel because that's fucking real and it hurts and it doesn't feel good to feel that way. But like you're only keeping that loop going by calling yourself a burden and believing you're a burden, and you're only keeping that conversation going versus cutting the cords and let's move. It might be hard that to reach out like that. I know for lots of the actually maybe even all 3 of us here, it might be one of our fucking hardest things to do to reach out and ask for help and like be the burden. So it's divinely aligned. We're all on this call to like hear this like straight up one-on-one. Because for real, it's time to like stop those loops of, and they're so subconscious, like they are sneaky as fuck. But this comes to that other message. Okay, no, we're not going to jump there because that's going to unground us. We're anchoring into releasing that need to feel like a burden. You are not a burden. You are so fucking deserving of every aspect of support and help that you need. We were brought here to help each other. Sometimes humans just like can't get out of their own fucking way to do that, which is why we've had past experiences that made us feel like a burden, because that person wasn't able to hold space for theirself. That person didn't have safe spaces like this to express. Like really, at the end of the day, it's those wounds that create our wounds. And that's like the deepest root of like kind of almost this forgiveness aspect when you do bump up against those things and you think of those people that you fucking hate for making you feel like a burden, and those times that you even like hated yourself for making yourself feel like a burden. Like, there's a big forgiveness piece and big compassion that also is here in this space to support you in moving through this. So yeah, sorry, the background noise is going to turn on. My roommate just got here, but as I stay focused here with you, it really is like, let's just wrap up that message of like, you are not a fucking burden. You are so worthy and so deserving of all of the help and all of the support you need. And when those feelings like overwhelmingly come up of like that fear, that like you feel it in your body, like that like actual like fight or flight, like should I do it, should I not, should I do it, and then it's like that flight is like I'm not going to do it, right? When we get there, being present and aware that is going to come up because you're releasing that, but we can breathe through it. Again, we can be aware of it. We can have that intention of like, okay, I see where my brain wants me to go, but I'm not a burden. I'm going to choose this way. Like there's a lot of ways to be able to hold that space for yourself versus staying in that loop versus even, I'm not saying not reach out for support, but even needing to be like, well, how do I do this? Because that's also kind of an avenue of codependency when we can't do it when we choose to go outside versus holding that space for ourselves, which is really hard too, and a whole nother deep rooted like layer of like possibly our own unique individual traumas of like doing shit on our own and not being so codependent. And it brings up even a confusion of like, well, how the fuck do I do this? And so that just little bit brings up that message once more of compassion, having compassion for yourself right now, energetically, cosmically, with all the retrogrades, the eclipse, the new moon. Literally, it's bringing us new opportunities to like choose differently. But what's going to come through mentally with all this air energy is almost the old way. And that's like the hard decision of like, fuck, like what's going on? Like, I don't want, why is this coming up? You know, figuring it out, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's where the surrender comes in, knowing it's coming up so loud, so big, because it's being rewritten. And again, that surrender, that trust, that presence, that patience, persistence, like in the moment to keep going. That's like the medicine. So, whoa. Yeah. Kind of got distracted when all of the other outside distractions came in, but I feel like I wrapped that up there in a grounded and anchored way. Um, so yeah, whoa, release the need to be a burden. I mean, that's probably something I'll share on my Instagram tonight because that's huge. And if that's something like really real for you, coming back to that point of journaling, like write a letter to yourself, maybe write a letter to those people that made you feel like a burden. You know, if there's something like so big that's coming up right like that for you, whatever your expression is, you don't have to give it to them. You can rip it up after, you can burn it, you know, just whatever like you're feeling. But just coming back to that message of journaling, specifically when it is like cutting cords, I guess, with any of those energies that might be supportive for you versus just like thinking about it and moving yourself through it in a mental space like that. The other thing I did want to say off of journaling, which like my intention is to make it so retrograde is not a scary period. It's like, oh my God, this is like so exciting. There's so much growth available to us here, because was the other like thing I had to say about journaling, especially Mercury retrograde, Mercury being all about communication, all about mental communication. We are receiving so much intuitively. It's just really fucking hard to decipher that because there's so much human real world shit going on. But right now, we are intuitive as fuck. Pisces is in Jupiter until like the end of July. Pisces is about intuition, that dream world, that subconscious, all of that. Jupiter is about expansion. So, like, our intuition right now is bringing us so much expansion. connecting the dots to Mercury retrograde. I've been reading this book saying like back in like mythological times, Hermes, I might butcher this, so sorry if I do history, but this is what I'm picking up. Hermes was like that mythological like Greek god or whatever, that went between worlds, literally went like from this world, like godly world, I should say, to like shadow world, like devil world, right? Like Hades, right? Like Zeus, Hades, like let's say that. Hermes was the messenger between both. I like it, Sierra. Thank you for confirming. I see you. But going between both, right? Hermes is that Mercury connection. Like that is him, like that God. Right now, we have so much available to us to be connected to both that that Zeus, that divine connection, that intuition, that really receiving, and the shadows, going up and down between both, taking what we learn up here to go down into the shadows and fucking take it with us. That soul, that highest self information into the human experience. Like that's literally what it is. I just kind of realized that myself. I was like, whoa, okay. It really is like that divine human, that divine, highest self connection. And when we talk about underworld, it's the human world. So being able to bring that highest self information down into the human experience. It's not about knocking, it's not about suppressing or ignoring the human experience. It's about honoring the fucking human experience and bringing in that highest self at the same time. So highest self is patience, highest self is presence, highest self is like, highest self is whatever it means for you, but that's what it means for me. I'm not trying to project my highest self onto you, but you know, those just like energies that you like fucking crave, that's your highest self. And bringing those energies into the human experience, it's fucking tricky, and it's like a fine line, and there's all the other things, but at the end of the day, this Mercury retrograde periods in general, which is happening to like August, September, October. So we're fucking in it, like receiving lots of lessons, lots of growth through October. It seems exhausting. It seems a lot. I'm not, it's not going to be like this the whole time. Like, let me say that. It's not going to be like fucking exhausting and draining and overwhelming. It will not be. Right now, we're like in the thick of it to look back at the end of all of this shit and be like, do you see how ungrounded we were there? Now look what we fucking did with it. Now look at how empowered we are in this lesson that we move through, like through all of this. Whoa. So wrapping this up, grounding this in to that full message, which came off journaling. Whatever you're receiving right now, like write it down. Those intuitive thoughts, those downloads, those creative, like, excuse me, those creative nudges, like just because they don't seem available to you, and maybe it's not even creative nudges, like I don't even have fucking uh, energy to write those down. It's more like, let me give you an example. Like this morning, I took the time to like write not my feelings, but what I was like channeling and what came through. And I knew that would support me looking back at it and like reading that out loud versus just thinking about it, keeping it in my head. So yeah, I'll use that as an example, because what comes through in that sense when you do feel clear, and even if it's like you don't feel clear, just that journaling, like I'm just getting a big, this is the last time I'll say it, maybe not, can't promise that, but journaling, just write it out. Like there's a lot of things coming through right now. And when you write out the brain dump, that's going to release it, creating space for more of that clarity to anchor in. So yeah. 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 So I'm going to read you. That's what I want to do. A bit of this journal prompt from this morning. It's not even a prompt. It's just like what came through, because this literally, I haven't been able to journal or any fucking thing for a week and a half, or like even connect. Like, I don't want to say a week and a half. I've just been not feeling my type of like connected intuitive self and like really like in it. And so this came after like really just giving myself just 5 minutes of breath and like full on compassion. And like, I need to just stop the human experience for a minute, honor it's a fucking mess and I feel all over the place, and just take a minute. Like, I even stopped my timer because I had so many thoughts going on, but like, I still didn't get into that conversation of like, well, you're stupid, you stopped the timer, like for this, like, you know, like it's still like having that compassion. So, anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna read this. So we are transitioning, we are elevating consciousness, we are breaking out of old belief systems, especially when it comes to self-worth and success. As we leave behind what once was, it can feel uncomfy and it can feel uncertain. This can bring on all sorts of fear and doubt. When's the last time you spent with yourself, absolutely silent with your own heart, breathing deeply without thinking about what's next? It's been a minute, and this is me talking to myself. This morning was a beautiful reconnection. I never want to disconnect, feeling ungrounded, especially due to overworking. That's the thing. There's a lot asking of your attention. It was only 10 days ago that you turned 28. Find a balance in all of this, because this is the new normal. What we're shifting in, what we're moving through, it's a new normal. Like, it really is. We're breaking out of old things to shift into the new, which is why it feels so chaotic. But the things that are like, wait, no, I want this. Like, this does feel right. Like, I do like how my life is shaping out. Like, that's because it is transitioning into that. But it's a patience game. We're like in that in between. So the next part of that, it says, you are always where you're meant to be. This next space you are shifting into does require a level of mastery, one that you're going through the growing pains of right now, which is why it feels so uncomfortable. It's every area of life being seen for what it is. We are choosing stability, and while we choose stability, we must expand. Do you see how confusing this is? It's an oxymoron, but more than that, it's simply polarity. Because in order to create more stability, we must expand outside of what is currently masking itself as stable. It's just more comfy and we're just more used to it, when in reality it's creating more toxicity. And that's kind of like that little loop that we were talking about of the burden aspect, like, you know, those little loops that we can stay stuck in by accident. Like, it's really tricky. And so wrapping this up, it says, this shit is not easy. Don't you remember where you were a year ago? You were dancing in similar shadows. The difference is now that you've learned, grown, you have new perspective, you have new tools. We're shifting out of what once was, which is survival, and we are shifting into what we want to experience more of, which is stability. The standstill makes us question, when in reality, the ground under us is moving. Our external is speeding up so that internally we can create these new boundaries that serve us. Trust, patience, and presence. The unknown and uncertainty is so real right now. Instead of spinning in it, how can you internally refine your process? And then this is like a side note to pump me up for the day. You fucking got this. And this is why I think I'm talking about journaling so much. Write down when you need a reminder. And then it says, you go first, which is why it feels more. And that's for every single person here, because you're a light worker, because you are this is for all of you. Like, yes, oh, thank you. I love it. Thank you. But like, yeah, that was just like a journal session from this morning of like taking 5 minutes for me and finally like getting back into like, oh, this is my center. Like, this is what it feels like. Even if it feels like I'm beginning that journey again of reconnecting with myself. Like, I live every day ritual devotion, but like the past week, it's been really hard because real life, like, I literally haven't had time. But just those mini pockets through the days I didn't have time of like just those, okay, you got this. This is all just happening, you know, like, it's okay. Setting reminders on my phone, even of like deep breaths, one step at a time. And then finally finding that pocket this morning of like, I did get up and like have my bowl of weed and like cups of coffee, like before even checking in with myself. And then the high of self came in and was like, yo, let's stop and just pause like for a minute. And it's okay because the past like 7 days, it was just like that constant no pause. And like I just kept going and kept working. And it was fine. It served me, but also like I'm gonna hit fucking burnout if I don't stop. And so yeah, it's a dance, it's a process, it's all of the things. Um, and just to wrap it all up, like in your own process and in your own journey, like y'all are doing a really good fucking job. Like a really, really, really good job. You continue to show up consciously. Like, what? That is so hard and it's so courageous. Falcon agrees, which is why I know it's like not just me relaying this message, it really is. Like, you are all doing a really good job. And it's kind of like your specific spirit teams, but it's also over like a more overall collective like cosmic energy of like thank you so much for like showing up to your mission almost. Like thank you so much for continuing to show up. Because it's not easy, but we shift shit, we create new things, we have such big desires because that's that's what's coming. It just feels so far away because the human is like, but why not right now? Why isn't it here yet? Why isn't it here yet? Why isn't it here yet? Blah, 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 right? Like, yo, we've lived lifetimes to get to this point in this lifetime. So what's the fucking rush? Like, whoa, that just dropped in. So I needed to hear that too. So yeah, I am going to stop recording, but I'm not going to exit out because that is definitely all of the messages that want to come through tonight.